Now then, hello and welcome back to my video gaming channel RetroGamerDiaries. There are very few things that have captured the attention of gamers more than the excitement of a space flight. For almost as long as there have been video games, developers and gamers alike have been drawn into dark space and the flash-filled grace of spaceship dogfights. In fact, all my favourite arcade games from the late 70s and early 80s include the likes of Space Invaders, Asteroids, Galaxian, Defender, Buck Rogers, and my personal favourite, Star Wars. I mean, even the earliest proto-video games like 1962's Space War put players in the role of daring spaceship pilots. And over the ensuing years, space-based shooters continued to evolve. Video gaming developers engaged in a space race in pursuit of innovative gameplay and graphics. And amidst this drive for innovation, Sega released an arcade hit that would help advance the medium and forever influence gaming. That game was Zaxxon. Zaxxon is a scrolling shooter developed and released by Sega as an arcade video game in 1982, and it was an immediate triumph. The game was one of Sega's earliest arcade hits and helped propel the manufacturer into further success. Zaxxon has a number of firsts to its name, from technological innovation to new strides in video gaming marketing. But its gameplay is what has truly stood the test of time for many gamers. Zaxxon is a classic space encounter in which you find yourself at the controls of an attack space shuttle spacecraft. You must strafe the enemy asteroid city in an attempt to destroy fuel tanks, gun emplacements, missiles and enemy aircraft. And with the aid of an altimeter, you must barnstorm your way through narrow wall openings, lethal electronic barriers and deadly rocket fire. A successful attack run across the asteroid city leads you to a deep space dogfight with squadrons of enemy planes. Exciting stuff this, it really is. And surviving the perils of outer space brings you to another asteroid city and a showdown with the insidious robot Zaxxon. Successfully destroying the evil Zaxxon allows further play, but with increased difficulty. The game continues until all of your ships have been crashed or have been lost to the enemy fire. Now, what really made Zaxxon unique for its time was its isometric perspective, using a technique called axonometric projection. Sega's designers were able to render the game in a pseudo three-dimensional third-person perspective. And what this meant is that the players could experience spaceship dogfight in 4 simulated directions. side-to-side movement alongside their altitude. Zaxxon allowed players an unparalleled sensation of three-dimensional gameplay. Now, not only were the players challenged by the constant forward movement employed by earlier games like Scramble, but they had to contend with managing both the side-to-side movement and height of their ship to dodge obstacles, including projectiles shot from attacking enemy ships and stationary turrets. Zaxxon used several visual cues to help players maneuver their ship. And more subtle and technologically innovative, however, was the shadow cast by the player-controlled spaceship, which grew or shrank based on its height. Altogether, this made Zaxxon an exhilarating, albeit challenging arcade gaming experience. When Zaxxon was released in the arcades, it came in three main cabinet types: a stand-upright model, a smaller cabinet model, and a seated cocktail cabinet. Today, the standard cabinet variation is among the most common and popular. This cabinet features a relatively typical Sega styling of the time, with Zaxxon's side panel artwork. The most defining feature of this version is the large metal flight control stick, with an included trigger and a red light at the top that shines as the player fires. The hardware featured a custom-built Sega Zaxxon board. This board would go on to power two other Sega titles, Super Zaxxon and Congo Bongo. While Sega was responsible for the design of the game, the cabinets were built by Gremlin, a San Diego-based video game manufacturer acquired by Sega in 1978. Now, interestingly, Zaxxon was also the first arcade game to be advertised on television, with a major TV commercial produced by Paramount Pictures, part of Gulf Plus Western, the owner of Sega at the time. The cost was between $500,000 and $1 million. The commercial was aired on major networks in large cities across the United States. The advert was in part produced by Mathematical Applications Group, the special effects company behind the movie Tron. I liked that movie. The commercial was considered a massive success for its time. Sega and Paramount attributed to almost doubling the sales. Even other arcade game developers admitted it helped draw in waves of new gamers to the arcades to play Zaxxon and games like it. The game was a critical and commercial success upon release, becoming one of the top 5 highest grossing arcade games of 1982 in the United States. Zaxxon would go on to receive ports to a number of gaming systems after its arcade release, and many of these ports would themselves receive critical praise and go on to top sales for their respective systems. So let's sit back and enjoy looking at these ports.
Play Zaxxon on your ColecoVision, Atari VCS, or Intellivision video game system. Zaxxon, it'll blow you away.
Arthur?
Well, there you go. That was all the ports of Zaxxon. There were some good ports here and some perhaps not quite so good. You would have noticed that Atari 2600 and Intellivision ports use a third person behind the ship perspective instead of the isometric graphics of the other versions. I'm not really sure if that works for me. I mean, Zaxxon's all about that isometric perspective. However, there is one game that is a right stinker, and I haven't shown it, and I'm just going to show it now. And it's the Auric version of Zaxxon. Wow, check it out. Absolute pish. The game is slow, simple graphics, poor sound. It's definitely the worst port for me. Shame really, because I am an Auric fan. It was my first computer and I have a little collection of Auric games, and I have to say I'm proud of that. But this game is a stinker. Anyway, apart from that, I have to say that many of these Zaxxon ports were a commercial success. The ColecoVision version was one of them. The Zaxxon was Coleco's best-selling non-bundled cartridge for the ColecoVision up until 1983.
It's got better graphic definition, just like arcade games. More changing screens, more to challenge any game wizard. CBS ColecoVision. You can't beat the system.
The home computer ports were also commercially successful in North America and Europe. Zaxxon received a gold award from the Software Publishers Association in December 1987 for software sales above 100,000 units. Wow, quite impressive. Also, US Gold's home computer version of Zaxxon was ranked number 2 on the UK software sales chart in early 1985. And 2 Computing listed Zaxxon 4th on its list of top Apple II games as of late 1985, based on sales and market share data. So there you go, Zaxxon was a must-have game, except for that Auric. That's a turd of a game. Okay, so what's next? Well, Zaxxon would go on to inspire future isometric video games, from others in the shoot-'em-up genre to the role-playing and action games. Beyond its legacy of technical innovation, Zaxxon would spawn a number of sequels, including the immediate follow-up Super Zaxxon in the same year, to later entries in the series like 1995's Sega 32X game Mother Base and 2012's iOS and Android release Zaxxon Escape. Also, the original Zaxxon itself has seen a re-release as part of the Sega Genesis collection, as well as ports to the Wii Virtual Console. So, let's have a look at these games, starting with the Super Zaxxon and the associated ports. Wow, so many games. So, Zaxxon was followed by an arcade sequel in November 1982, Super Zaxxon. Now, it has a different colour scheme, the player's ship flies faster, making the game more difficult, and the space segment is replaced with a tunnel, and the enemy at the end of the second fortress is a dragon. Although it did not do as well as the original, it's still a pretty good game. Let's have a look, and then we'll look at a further 5 ports. Okay, now we're on to Zaxxon's Mother Base 2000, which was released for the Sega 32X in 1995. It is the first Zaxxon game to incorporate polygon graphics. The game bore the Zaxxon brand only in the United States, as the Japanese version was named Para Squad, and the European version was named Mother Base. Gaming critics generally remarked that the game was not similar enough to Zaxxon to justify the use of the brand. Well, let's judge up by ourselves. Let's have a look at the game. Well, there you go. Does this game have the Zaxxon feel? Well, yes, on some levels. It does have that Zaxxon look, and for me, I think the game is a good game. I liked it. Right, this is Zaxxon Escape, which was released on October the 4th, 2012 for iOS and Android devices. Similar to the Zaxxon mother-based game, this game was also criticised for having little resemblance to the original. So let's have a look at the game. Well, there you go. That game's absolute rubbish. So, let's just move on. Nearly there, folks. My God, so many Zaxxon games. Now we're on to the re-releases, starting with Sega Genesis Collection. Then we will look on to the Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection, which is also known as the Mega Drive Ultimate Collection in the UK. And then we will finally look at the Wii Virtual Console port. So let's watch that. I liked making this video. Okay, while Zaxxon may be relegated to the status of a cultural and historical footnote, for many current gamers, its innovation and its success are undeniable. No question, Zaxxon was one of Sega's early arcade successes and helped to pave a pathway for its future hits. For me, in many ways, Zaxxon is an unsung hero of the arcade golden age. It was a daring pioneer, breaking ground in design, technology and marketing for the arcade and video gaming industry that receives less credit than it deserves. So that was my video covering the history of Zaxxon. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then please give a like or leave a comment. However, as always, it's really appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel. Go on, subscribe to my channel. Anyway, until my next episode, see you all very soon. Bye bye. Christ, that ought a game, huh?